in the modern world, but tens of thousands of years ago, during the Ice Age. There are no cities, no roads, no electricity, no sound of engines in the distance, only the whisper of the wind drifting across an endless frozen plain. The air is cold enough to sting your lungs with every breath. Snow blankets the earth, while towering glaciers shimmer beneath the pale light of dawn. Far away, mammoths wander slowly across the horizon, their thick woolly coats protecting them from the relentless cold. This is the world that our ancestors called home. Life here is simple, but never easy. A small family sleeps together inside a shelter built from mammoth bones, wooden poles, and heavy animal hides. The entrance is carefully covered to keep out the icy wind. In the center, a small fire still glows softly, its embers glowing beneath a blanket of ash. The fire has burned through the night. Someone woke several times before dawn to feed it with dry wood. Allowing it to die would have been a dangerous mistake. Without fire, the cold could become deadly before sunrise. The family sleeps close together, wrapped in layers of soft fur. Sharing body heat is one of the oldest and most effective ways of surviving freezing nights. Every degree of warmth matters. As the first light reaches the shelter, the oldest member of the family slowly opens his eyes. There are no clocks, no alarms. The rising sun is all the signal they need. One by one, the others awaken. The children remain beneath the furs a little longer, reluctant to leave the warmth, while the adults quietly begin another day that will be devoted entirely to survival. Outside, the world is silent. Only the crunch of snow beneath careful footsteps breaks the stillness. The first task is always the fire. Someone gently stirs the glowing embers and adds fresh wood. Thin ribbons of smoke begin to rise, carrying with them the comforting scent of burning timber. Soon, warmth returns to the shelter. Breakfast is modest. There is no bread, no grain, no milk. Instead, they eat dried strips of meat prepared days or even weeks earlier. Sometimes they gather edible roots hidden beneath the frozen soil or preserved berries collected during warmer seasons. Every bite is precious. Nothing is wasted. Not the meat, not the bones, not the hide. Even the tendons of animals become thread for sewing, while bones are carefully shaped into needles, fishhooks, and tools used every day. Clothing is another matter of survival. These are not simple animal skins thrown over the shoulders. They are carefully crafted garments stitched together with astonishing skill using bone needles and strong sinew thread. Several layers trap warm air close to the body, protecting against temperatures that can fall far below freezing. Boots are lined with soft fur. Gloves cover frozen hands. Heavy cloaks shield the body from biting winds. Every piece of clothing represents countless hours of work. Even the youngest children begin learning early. There are no classrooms. Nature itself is their teacher. A little boy watches his father sharpen a stone spearhead. A young girl observes her mother scraping and softening animal hides. No formal lessons are spoken. Knowledge passes quietly, from watchful eyes to patient hands. This is how generations survive. The camp itself is never permanent. These people do not build villages that last forever. They follow the seasons. They follow the migrating herds. When the animals move, the people move with them. Everything they own must be light enough to carry. Life is a constant journey. By midday, some members of the family gather firewood, while others search for edible plants hidden beneath patches of snow or inspect traps placed nearby. No one remains idle. Every task contributes to survival. Even the smallest child can help collect sticks or carry water. As evening approaches, everyone returns. The fire grows brighter once again. The smell of roasting meat slowly fills the shelter. Outside, the frozen wilderness stretches endlessly into the darkness. Inside, surrounded by warmth, family, and the comforting glow of fire, there is a rare feeling of peace. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. Another hunt, another journey, another battle against the cold. But for tonight, they have survived one more day, and in the Ice Age, that alone is something worth celebrating. The first light of dawn has barely touched the frozen landscape when the hunters begin to move. The camp is still quiet. Children remain asleep beneath warm layers of fur, while a few glowing embers continue to crackle inside the shelter. Outside, the cold bites at every exposed breath. Today's journey may last until nightfall, or perhaps for several days. No one can know. The hunters gather silently. Each man carries only what he truly needs: a carefully crafted spear tipped with razor-sharp flint, a stone knife secured to his belt, a bundle of dried meat, and a small pouch containing the tools required to start a fire. Everything has a purpose. Every extra ounce costs precious energy. Before leaving, they study the wind. Approaching an animal from the wrong direction could carry the scent of humans across the open plain, sending the herd into flight long before the hunters are close enough to strike. The oldest hunter kneels beside a trail in the snow, fresh footprints, large, deep. A herd of reindeer passed here not long ago. Nearby are the enormous tracks of woolly mammoths, their heavy feet pressing deep into the frozen ground. The hunt has begun long before anyone throws a spear. Tracking is an art. Broken branches, flattened grass beneath the snow, fresh droppings. Tiny details invisible to most eyes become a story that experienced hunters can read with astonishing accuracy. Hours pass. The frozen wind whistles across the endless tundra. No one speaks unless absolutely necessary. Silence is part of the hunt. Eventually, they climb a rocky ridge. Beyond it, there they are, a herd of woolly mammoths, massive creatures covered in thick coats of dark hair, slowly crossing the white plain in search of food buried beneath the snow. The hunters do not rush. A healthy adult mammoth is one of the largest and most dangerous animals they could ever face. One careless mistake could mean death. Instead, they watch, they wait, they look for an opportunity. Perhaps an older animal, perhaps a young mammoth that has wandered too far from the protection of the herd. Sometimes, no opportunity comes at all, and the hunters simply walk away. Survival is not about bravery, it is about judgment. Most successful hunts are not against mammoths. More often, people hunt reindeer, wild horses, bison, or ibex. These animals are smaller, faster, and far less dangerous, yet they still provide valuable meat, hides, bones, and fat. Today, fortune smiles upon them. A young reindeer has become separated from the herd. The hunters spread out quietly, surrounding it from several directions. No shouting, no panic, only patience. The animal hesitates. For one brief moment, it chooses the wrong path. A spear flies through the cold air, then another. Within seconds, the hunt is over. The hunters approach carefully, offering silent respect for the life they have taken. Nothing will be wasted. The meat will feed families. The hide will become clothing and blankets. The bones will be shaped into tools. The antlers will serve many purposes. Even the tendons will become thread for sewing. Every part of the animal has value. As daylight begins to fade, the hunters build a small fire, sheltered between rocks. The flames are kept low to avoid attracting predators. Tonight, they sleep far from home. Wrapped in heavy furs beneath the stars, they take turns keeping watch while the fire burns quietly beside them. Somewhere beyond the darkness, wolves howl across the frozen plains. Perhaps a cave lion wanders through the night. The hunters listen, they feed the fire, and they wait for morning. Back at the camp, the families are waiting. Children watch the horizon, hoping to see familiar figures returning through the snow. When the hunters finally appear, carrying their hard-earned prize, smiles spread across the camp. There is relief, there is gratitude, and there is enough food to face another stretch of the long Ice Age winter. For these people, every successful hunt is more than a meal. It is another chance to survive, another promise that tomorrow will come, and in the frozen world they call home. That promise means everything. As the sun slowly disappears behind the frozen horizon, the hunters return to camp. Some carry fresh meat across their shoulders. Others bring bundles of firewood gathered along the journey. The children are always the first to notice them. They run toward the edge of the camp, not simply to greet their fathers, but to discover whether the hunt has been successful. Did they bring food home? Will there be enough to last through the coming days? In the Ice Age, every successful return is a quiet victory. The work begins immediately. There is no time to rest. Fresh meat must be prepared before night grows colder. Long strips of meat are carefully sliced and hung above the fire, where gentle heat and rising smoke will slowly preserve them. Days later, they will become dry enough to carry on long hunting journeys, light in weight, yet rich in energy. Nearby, large pieces of animal fat are slowly melted, using heated stones placed inside simple containers made from stone or tightly stitched animal hide. Fat is one of the most valuable resources in the frozen world, providing warmth, nourishment, and precious calories during the harshest months of winter. Nothing is wasted. The animal's hide begins an entirely different journey. It is cleaned with remarkable care, stretched tightly across a wooden frame, then scraped with sharpened stone tools to remove every remaining trace of flesh. The process can take several days. Sometimes the hide is softened using natural techniques that have survived for thousands of years, transforming stiff skin into flexible leather, capable of protecting an entire family from the relentless cold. Soon, these hides will become warm cloaks, sturdy boots, thick blankets, and even the walls of future shelters. Not far away, another craftsman sits quietly beside the fire. In his hands rests a piece of flint. With slow, deliberate strikes, he shapes the stone into an incredibly sharp blade. Each movement is careful. Each strike is calculated. Too much force will shatter the stone. Too little will accomplish nothing. A young boy watches every motion without saying a word. There is no classroom, no teacher standing before him. Learning happens through observation, by copying, by making mistakes, by trying again. This is how knowledge travels from one generation to the next. As darkness settles across the frozen plains, life inside the camp begins to slow. The fire grows brighter. Its warm glow dances across the faces gathered around it. For the first time all day, people simply sit together. This is more than a place to stay warm. It is where memories are shared. An elder begins telling stories. Perhaps he speaks of a hunt from many winters ago. Perhaps he remembers a valley where reindeer gathered every spring. Or maybe he warns the children about hidden dangers beyond the hills. No one knows the exact words spoken around Ice Age fires, but archaeologists believe storytelling has always been one of humanity's oldest traditions. Stories carried knowledge, they taught survival, They preserved history, and they reminded every child that they belonged to something greater than themselves. Sometimes the evening is filled with music. Simple rhythms echo through the camp. Hands clap softly, stones tap together. Someone plays a flute carved from the hollow bone of a bird. Remarkably, archaeologists have discovered bone flutes dating back more than 30,000 years, reminding us that even in the harshest environments, human beings still made room for beauty. Life was never only about survival. There was laughter, there was music, there was wonder. One by one, the youngest children begin to fall asleep. Their mothers wrap them carefully in soft furs before laying them close to the fire, always near enough for warmth, but never close enough to danger. The adults remain awake a little longer. One person quietly feeds another piece of wood into the flames. Someone else listens to the sounds beyond the shelter. Perhaps it is only the wind sweeping across the snow. Perhaps it is the distant howl of wolves, or the cautious footsteps of an unseen animal passing through the darkness. The fire offers protection. Its light keeps many predators at a distance. Its smoke carries a scent that wild animals instinctively avoid. Before closing their eyes, many lift their gaze toward the night sky. Without the lights of cities, the heavens appear breathtaking. Thousands of brilliant stars stretch from horizon to horizon. The Milky Way shines with astonishing clarity. The air is painfully cold, yet it is pure. The silence is complete, yet it feels strangely comforting. In this ancient world, that small circle of fire means everything. It is warmth, it is family, it is safety, it is hope. And as the flames slowly fade into glowing embers, another day comes to an end. Another day survived. And in the Ice Age, that was always enough. If you could stand upon a wind-swept hill near the end of the Ice Age, the world before you would seem almost endless. Frozen rivers would wind through vast open plains. Towering glaciers would shimmer beneath the pale northern sun. Herds of reindeer, bison, wild horses, and woolly mammoths would move slowly across the landscape, following ancient migration routes that had existed for thousands of years. It was a beautiful world, but it was also unforgiving. The people who lived here were not the strongest animals. They were not the fastest. They had no sharp claws, no powerful jaws, and no thick fur to protect them from the bitter cold. Yet they possessed something far more remarkable. They could adapt. Every season brought new challenges. Every journey demanded new decisions. When spring finally arrived, even if only for a short time, the frozen earth slowly began to soften. Small plants emerged from beneath the melting snow. Rivers flowed more freely. The great herds began moving once again, searching for fresh, grazing lands. And as they moved, the people followed. Their homes were never permanent. Entire camps could be packed within a matter of hours. Shelters made from animal hides were carefully dismantled. Stone tools were gathered. Bundles of dried meat were tied securely for the journey ahead. Everything they owned had to be carried by hand. They traveled lightly because survival demanded it. The land itself determined where they would live next. To remain in one place for too long often meant hunger. So they became travelers, not because they loved wandering, but because nature required it. As they crossed mountains, rivers, forests, and frozen plains, they learned to read the world around them with extraordinary skill. They watched the sky. Dark clouds gathering along the horizon could signal an approaching storm. They watched the wind. Its direction carried scents from distant animals. They listened to birds. Sudden silence in the forest sometimes warned that a predator was nearby. To these people, nature was constantly speaking. Those who learned to listen survived. Those who ignored its signs often did not. Yet survival was never simply an individual effort. Archaeological discoveries tell us something deeply human. Some Ice Age skeletons reveal severe injuries, broken bones, damaged joints, even lifelong disabilities. And yet those individuals lived for many years after their injuries. That could only mean one thing. Someone cared for them. Someone shared food with them. Someone helped them walk. Someone refused to leave them behind. Compassion, it seems, is as ancient as humanity itself. Death, too, was a familiar companion. Life in the Ice Age was uncertain. Accidents happened. Illness struck. Hunts sometimes ended in tragedy. But many archaeological sites show that the dead were treated with care and respect. Some were buried with stone tools. Others rested beside ornaments made from shells, animal teeth, or carved ivory. In several graves, archaeologists discovered traces of red ochre carefully sprinkled around the body. No one knows exactly what these rituals meant. Perhaps they reflected love, perhaps memory, perhaps hope. Whatever the reason, they remind us that even tens of thousands of years ago, human beings searched for meaning beyond survival alone. Then, slowly, almost too slowly for any single generation to notice, the world began to change. The climate grew warmer year after year, century after century. The enormous glaciers slowly retreated. Forests spread into places that had once been frozen tundra. The great Ice Age landscapes gradually disappeared. Many of the giant animals that had dominated this world also vanished. The woolly mammoth became increasingly rare. The woolly rhinoceros disappeared. Life was changing. Once again, humanity adapted. People relied more on smaller game. Fishing became increasingly important in many regions. Wild plants, nuts, fruits, and seeds played a larger role in daily life. Thousands of years later, some communities would take another extraordinary step. Instead of following nature, they would begin shaping it. They would plant seeds, raise animals, build permanent villages, and eventually, the first civilizations would emerge. But those stories belong to another chapter in human history. For now, let us return to the quiet campfire. Night has fallen once again. The children sleep peacefully beneath thick furs. The flames burn lower with each passing hour. Beyond the shelter, the frozen wilderness stretches silently beneath a sky filled with countless stars. No one gathered around this fire could possibly imagine what lay thousands of years ahead. They could never have dreamed of cities, of ships crossing oceans, of books, of music carried through invisible waves, of machines flying across the sky, or of human footprints upon the